We're about to snack on some content. Okay, so listen, people sent this to me actually that do on the Rob and Dan podcast channel, link in the description. Excellent podcast. But I thought that my wife wasn't really interested, and this is more of a me thing. My wife's not a huge fan. My wife's not a huge big fan of Dave Portnoy. I kind of like him. You know, he's just kind of like a man, and I don't know how else to explain it. So I think he's all right. My wife is not a big fan. I think it's funny. But anyway, there's this like conversation that he has with somebody from the Washington Post, and apparently they pushed out misinformation about him and his event. And what I think is really nice is that I like this thing here, where I like the idea of if there's a social media post with misinformation on it, or disinformation you'd call it, because that's like intentional misinformation, which is my understanding, putting something in there that educates people instead of restricting it. I think that's like 1,000 times better. If you come across something and there's like an extra thing underneath that's like, hey, this is some extra context, and you're like, oh, interesting, and then you can engage in it because it's underneath the Washington Post as well, and it has this video of Dave Portnoy in it where he talks to the person from the Washington Post. I love that concept. I think that's phenomenal, and I want to engage with this. So here's what the context says. It says, this weekend, New York will host Dave Portnoy's One Bite Pizza Festival. Participating pizzerias have had to navigate buzz around the festival and backlash against Barstool Sports founder, controversial remarks, allegations of misconduct, misconduct, sexual misconduct. That's, I think, the Washington Post article, right? Underneath that is the reader's added context. A phone call between Emily Heel and Dave Portnoy was, I don't know if I said it right, but shared prior to publication, in which the Washington Post journalist admits to intentionally misleading advertisers into speaking negatively on the One Bite Pizza Festival. They agreed to an interview the next day, but they canceled. So I want to read the article first about what's going on, and then we're going to listen to Dave Portnoy's video. So let's see. Let's see what we got. Pizzerias navigate buzz backlash around Dave Portnoy's Pizza Festival. The main thing Maggie DeMarco Meals, I guess this is this person. Yeah, this is them. Okay. Knew about Barstool Sports founder Dave Portnoy before she agreed to take part in the One Bite Festival, Pizza Festival this weekend in New York, was that he had given her father pizzeria a stellar review in 2018. Whoa! This was DeFario Pizza in Brooklyn. Okay. But years before the legendary, the person I guess died, Domenico DeMarco. I'm so bad with every other name except for I don't know, mine. Died. Portnoy, in fact, rated 2 slices from the pizzeria. He gave them both 9.4 out of 10. And listen, let me just tell you something. One bite, you got to have the full pizza. The crust is part of the experience. Is that Don DeMarco? Is that the legendary Don DeMarco? The meme? Incredible. When he first started the One Bite thing, people kept sending me links telling me, you got the highest score, and I would listen to it and be like, who is this guy? All he does is curse. That's like a typical mom. So that was my first impression. DeMarco Miles, I hope I'm saying her name right, said in the interview with the Washington Post, since signing on for the inaugural One Bite Pizza Festival, named after the influential video series in which Portnoy takes one bite, though usually more, of a slice and gives it a numerical rating, DeMarco has learned a lot about the man who goes by the nickname El Presidente. For the festival, DeFara had a special t-shirt made which the pizzeria put on their Instagram account. Okay, interesting. Oh, that's kind of smart. That's a smart shirt. Let's see. DeMarco, Miles, and the pizzeria were quickly accused of supporting a man who has been accused of sexual misconduct, and he has a history of using racist, misogynistic, and homophobic language that he defends his jokes. Okay, so just to be very clear, the one thing is I remember doing like a deep dive on that like last year, and from what I remember, it kind of boiled down to, and I don't remember it specifically. I want to see if I can find the video, and it really seemed to boil down to a situation where he likes younger girls. I can't even find my take on this. Where a situation where he liked younger girls, like of age girls, and some of the stuff he was into in the bed was like intense, but it seemed, again, from what I remember, it seemed consensual. It was just intense and too much for some of the people that he engaged with, and it made them uncomfortable, and then that kind of got taken out of hand, and it made him a little more than uncomfortable. I think it was upsetting for them, which I get it, but it didn't seem like he was being like, it was more of a conversation around comfortable boundaries more than anything else. And so I don't think that he's like a horrible guy. I think that he's just kind of a silly goose. I can't find my video on it. But yeah, that was pretty much that. History of using racist, misogynistic, and homophobic language as offended as jokes. They probably were jokes. He's more of like a comedian. Like if we're talking about somebody that's doing social political content, like okay, but we're talking about like a guy that does jokes. I don't care about that. In a brief phone call with the Post, he said, "I have been hit with the same things over and over, and they are so wildly out of context." DeMarco was rattled enough by the incoming comments. Bro, someone from New York doesn't care about any of that. Let's be real. New Yorkers, that's where Donald Trump's from. You think that we're sitting here upset about casual racist jokes? No, we should be, but no. She turned to her mother, the matriarch of the celebrated pizza family, for guidance. I told her about some of the contents. I'm like, Mom, I don't pay attention to this stuff. I can't even pay attention to my own stuff, she said. You have to think of the people that paid a lot of money for those tickets. Those are the people you have to think of, and she's right. If DeFar had pulled out of the festival, DeMarco said, we would be disappointing a lot of people that are going, not because of Dave Portnoy, but because of DeFaro and all the other great pizzerias that are beside us. I feel like they don't care, and I would... Here's the problem, and I'm just speculating, but I feel like they probably don't care that much, because I think we all understand that everybody has made mistakes in our past and done like bad things that were not intentionally bad, and it is what it is, and you move forward doing better. But also, I feel like when it comes to the media, you're not allowed to say, oh, someone made a racist joke, okay, like me too, or something like, yeah, you shouldn't do that, but it's not the end of the world. We're like so conditioned to be afraid of the media, like we're shivering, like, oh my God. Because imagine that they had said something that sounded affirming of Portnoy, and the Washington Post said, these guys are racism defenders, then they'd have the lines would be around the block, because Italians love that kind of shit. Hey, what's going on, Brianna? How you doing? No, but then all of a sudden everybody's like hitting you and like slamming you on Twitter or whatever, or your Instagram, and just bullying you because because it's just like it causes like a hate mob. I really wish we would be more intelligent about the way that we engaged in people's like negative pasts, especially if they didn't intend to do something horrible. The pizzerias that Portnoy celebrates can go from local institutions to nationally known destinations. Places like Freedy, the Manhattan, the Pizza Man. I don't even know how I got there. In suburban Detroit, which received an effusive 8.7 review from Portnoy, causing an avalanche of attention to the restaurant. According to the Detroit News, or Santillo's Brick Oven Pizza in Elizabeth, New Jersey, which received an 8.3 from Portnoy, Al Santino, the semi-retired owner of the third-generation Santillo's, said his review after the pizza... Oh my God, I can't read tonight. I'm so sorry. His revenue after the review increased by 50%. Nearly 5 years after the One Bite video was published, Santillo said he still gets customers based on it. That's cool. I imagine even if you get a bad review, you might still get customers. To be possibly. A negative review from Portnoy on the flip side can have an impact too. Really? Late last month, Portnoy posted a video panning Dragon Pizza in Somerville, Massachusetts. Listen, by the way, I'm on the side of the pizza owner on that one. I did a video. My wife and I talked about it. I will link it in the description. It's on the Robin Dan podcast. I liked that guy who gave Dave a little bit of an attitude. It was a fun interaction. Okay? Let's do the pizza. It's right here. It's got 1,000 views on the podcast like that. It's pretty good. I thought it was funny. I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny. I like the guy gave Dave a little hard time, and it was a fun little thing. It doesn't make me not like Dave. I just thought it was interesting. And calling it the slice of floppy mess. It had a lot of Parmesan on it. Owner Charlie Red confronted him on camera outside the shop, saying, "I don't appreciate what you do, coming in judging a business with one bite." Then the two engaged in an expletive-laden exchange. Portnoy's online army rallied, and Red later told Bon Appetit that his shop's Yelp page received a flood of one-star reviews. That's wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. And that he received death threats, but none of them seemed to hurt business. His pizzeria reportedly sold out after the Portnoy ran. Of course it would sell out. I would go there even if I thought the pizza sucked, just to try it myself. I I think Portnoy, in his defense, said like, "Hey, it's just not for me. There's too much Parmesan or whatever on it." And then the guy got pissed. He's like, "Hey, I really don't like what you do here." And then Dave got really angry at that, and then it just kind of devolved. Whether we like it or not, Dave Portnoy is the most influential person in the pizza country, at every pizzeria in the country, with the exception of a very few, is patiently waiting for the day that he walks through the door, said Scott Wiener. Incredible. Who, since 2008, had operated a company that specializes in New York pizza tours because they see that as their chance of becoming an overnight lines out the door huge success. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Portnoy, 46, founded Barstool as a sports and culture print publication in Boston 2003. Can I just be real with you guys really quick? Really quick. This is something that I also talked about on my Robin Day podcast on my way. We talked about sports yesterday on the full podcast. People who love sports are the same as people who love anime or cosplay. Okay, let's be real, especially the hardcore ones. Hey guys, I'm going to dress in the jersey. I'm going to cosplay as my favorite sportsman. I'm going to put paint on my face. I'm going to tailgate parties. And I'm going to scream at the TV when my team does well and doesn't do well. I'm going to go ballistic. I'm going to go cuckoo. I'm going to go bananas. I'm going to literally have a religious ritual on what to do to help my team magically win. I got to wear the old dirty socks from 3 years ago and do 3 circles and smack my wife so that my team will magically, hopefully win. Right? What's the difference between that and smelly My Hero Academia nerds? Like, honestly, explain to me what the difference, truly speaking, is between people who love sports and people who love anime. They're both kind of cringe. So let's be real here. I think they're both fine, but kind of based. Okay. Portnoy, 46, founded Barstool as a sports and culture print publication in Boston 2003. Taking it from a free vehicle for gambling ads to a media company with more than 400 employees, $250 million in annual revenue, almost 100 shows, and an estimated more than 51 million monthly page views. Since Portnoy started his One Bite Pizza reviews years ago, the program's YouTube audience alone has grown to more than 1 million subscribers. Yeah, you're right. when it comes down to the anime nerds, one hits women, the other one hits on children. Yeah, it's true. Anime, come on, guys. But the Barstool site, which Portnoy has famously called Sports Smut/Smut, has been no stranger to controversy, nor Portnoy himself. A few examples of many is in 2010 blog post that have apparently since been deleted. Portnoy wrote that even though I never condoned rape, if you're a size 6 and wearing skinny jeans, you kind of deserve to get it, right? I remember looking at that, and I remember from what I remember from the video that I did, it was like a very distasteful joke, and it wasn't a good joke. But the thing is, I don't remember exactly what he had said, but I remember hearing that and being like, yeah, that was like a really shitty, inappropriate joke. He later told Huffington Post that the comment was intended to be a joke and that he didn't intend to poke fun at rape, but rather at skinny jeans. Yeah, sure. It's just a bad joke you shouldn't make. It doesn't mean he's horrible. I mean, I make bad jokes all the time. What do you want me to tell you? Or not all the time. I try not to. I call it. I coined this term today on when I did my podcast. Blah, 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 blah. But it's like a white guy joke. It's when you make like kind of a bigoted joke because you think it's funny, but then people are like, "That wasn't funny." Because you're speaking like from my experience. I have like no negative experiences with anything except my house getting broken into when I was a kid. Right. So never joke about that. And you make like a dumb joke that you think is funny to people, you think they'll laugh at it, you're not trying to be poorly intentioned, but it ends up like you looking like a dick and you're just like, oops, sorry. We've all been there. We've all done that. In another blog post in 2014, he made sexist comments about ESPN host Samantha Ponder, including that her job was to make men hard. Oh, maybe. I don't know. He defended his words, saying they're just part of an hour-long podcast in which Barstool Sports criticized all sportscasters, according to the Business Insider. In 2016, he wrote that he was #no homo for thinking former Jets quarterback Chris Hackenberg was handsome. Who cares? What is that? Doesn't really matter. Somebody was you were in the stream, the Robin Dan stream, and somebody in the chat told us their white guy joke. And it was like, hey, this one was actually funny though, by the way. This person named Chaos, I think the joke was along the lines of, this is my favorite white guy joke. Okay. It was along the lines of he was talking to a lesbian and asked her like, hey, is having big fingers basically like being well hung in the lesbian world? And my wife thought that was so funny. I think that's funny too, because like, right, that's well hung. I thought it was silly, yeah. Let's see. In 2016, a video segment of the Resist Program Twitter account, Portnoy discussed NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick kneeling during the national anthem. I'm going to say something that's racist. I mean, we've all been there. Portnoy said, listen, you got to give the guy credit. That's a trigger warning. Right? He's giving us a trigger. I'm going to say something racist. That's a trigger warning. That's like a trigger warning. I'm going to say something racist. Portnoy said, I thought he was the nicest guy. Incredible. Jesus Christ. Throw a head wrap on the guy and okay, I'm not even going to read that. This is obviously very inappropriate. It's in 2016, so hopefully he doesn't make jokes like that anymore. After those comments stirred criticism, Portnoy released a video aimed mostly at Barstool employees in which he said the intent was to make people laugh. Yeah, see, white guy jokes. A lot of white guy jokes. You know, sorry if I'm being too charitable to white guys. I don't know if you know this. I am a white guy. So it's one of those things where I kind of get saying ignorant shit and like not trying to be like mean. In 2021, Insider published a story in which 3 women alleged that sexual encounters with Portnoy turned into frightening and humiliating experiences. And 2 additional women alleged that Portnoy choked and filmed them without advance permission. The news outlets published a follow-up article in 2022 in which 3 more women alleged that Portnoy filmed them during sex without asking. Yeah, so, inappropriate. If I don't remember the specifics, but if that's true, it is inappropriate. It's not. I don't know if I wouldn't consider that sexual assault. Portnoy denied all the allegations and led a campaign against Insider and some of its employees, deriding what he described as hit pieces. He filed a defamation suit after the second story, although his lawsuit was dismissed, and the judge noted the Insider had corroborated the women's accounts with photographs, texts, and social media messages, videos, medical reports, police documents, an Uber receipt, and statements from at least 3 friends who saw or spoke with the women soon after the interactions with the plaintiff. Since the One Bite Pizza Festival was announced, see, what's interesting is a lot of this seems to be really centralized around his controversy. It just seems to be all, like, I get it, but like it just seems like an excuse to just kind of go after him. This seems to just be an excuse to just like give us a laundry list of all the bad things that he's allegedly or done in the past, and be like, oh my god, that's all it is. It's like, oh, Dave Portnoy is hosting a big festival. Let's talk about how horrible of a person he is. Like, I don't know, dude. You know what? Like. Because obviously people need to be held accountable. But if you've talked about something and you've satisfied it, I feel like for the most part, why bring it up over and over again? This just seems stupid. It really comes down to the media's attempt at to sensationalize. They want a story that'll pop. They know that Dave Portnoy has like a lot of controversy. And I feel like we all would if we were really popular. We would all have done things in our lives that aren't like particularly great, you know? I remember one time I was streaming, I was driving, and you could fill in the holes, man. Somebody cut me off. So you know what? If that came out, I mean, I think we would all understand. Because when you're driving, I feel like that's the only time it's acceptable to be kind of it's acceptable to be kind of a crazy guy. You know what I mean? That's the only acceptable time to say inappropriate things is when you're driving, frankly. But you know. Okay. Since the One Bite Pizza Festival was announced early August, some influencers, writers, and activists have been calling out pizzerias and sponsors participating in the nearly sold-out event scheduled for Saturday at a minor league ballpark in Brooklyn, with remaining tickets of the publication time starting at $220. Jesus. Some of the biggest names in pizza, De Faro, a bunch of Italian names. Yeah, a bunch of Italian names are among the 35-plus shops slated to participate in the festival, which is sponsored by Coca-Cola. My thing is like, could they give out their pizza? Because how do you make... It's like you gotta make the pizza and bring it in a container. Because then it gets moist. The heat gets into the container, and then it just kind of rains down on the pizza, and now it's ruined, you know? But maybe it's not that. Sponsored by Coca-Cola, High Noon, New Amsterdam Vodka, Peroni, and other brands. Many of the pizzerias have received favorable reviews from Portnoy. Yeah, of course they're going to show up if they got favorable reviews. I feel like that's supposed to be pointed. Many of the pizzerias have received favorable views. It's like, oh, you're kind of complicit in whatever, you know. Joe Rosenthal, a Minnesota-based mathematician who has positioned himself as the conscience of the food and restaurant industries, has been leading the charge against those involved with Portnoy's festival. He has posted regularly on Instagram with 33,000 plus followers, writing that the pizzeria's influencers and trade publications are showing that Portnoy can continue his violent misogyny and campaign of abuse, and they will continue to support him. Rosenthal wants the public to educate those businesses about Portnoy's past behaviors and pressure them to make a decision. I mean, that's, you know, here's the thing. If their argument was, we just want to educate people on his past so you can make an informed decision, fine. But even this, it's like, we want to educate them on the past and then pressure them to make a decision. Like they want to shame them into submission is what that communicates to me. You'd think that based on all these what's going on, that Dave Portnoy is a casual Minecraft player. You know what I mean? Because those Minecraft players are basically computer emo nerds. Because for some reason, emo people, oh my god, the reddest flag in the world. It goes emo, Minecraft, anybody in the manosphere. that's the hierarchy of predators. Yeah. This week, Jeremy Schneider, that's incredible, wrote an opinion piece for the NewJersey.com headline, or NJ.com. Why are NJ pizzerias supporting misogynist bully Dave Portnoy? Oh my god. Why are they so obsessed? And best-selling cookbook author J. Kendall Lopez Alt said in a recent Instagram story that Portnoy got put together this list of pizzerias who are either not aware of his history or know but don't care. Yeah. What about emo girls? They're all victims. Let's be real. None of the pizzerias or sponsors contacted by the post indicated that they were pulling their support. Some said that they lent their name and reputation to the event in exchange for publicity to access the young, social media savvy audience that Portnoy attracts. And some support Portnoy, whom they see as a champion of small business. His pizza reviews, they say, can increase revenue up to 50%. I mean, yeah, like in their world, even if he is this horrible guy, like this is good for their business, and like that's how they live. And I'm not saying that they would be right if Dave Portnoy was this horrible person supporting them, but either way, I get that interest. But either way, I don't think he's a horrible person. They point out that his Barstool fund has raised tens of millions of dollars to help restaurants and other small businesses during the pandemic. So that's nice. Santillo, for one, doesn't understand why critics are attacking him and others for siding with Portnoy. I wonder if that was like subsidized by the government. I don't know. Who cares? The guy definitely is controversial. I know a lot of things he says I don't like. I'm not a former follower of his because I'm pretty conservative myself, Santillo said in the phone interview. Nobody's all good and nobody's all bad, the owner continued. That's true. Okay, except for, there's some people. Right now, to me, his good points are outweighing his bad points. Everybody has a dark side, but basically, don't shoot the piano player. I'm just a piano player here. Why do you want to shoot me? What the fuck is that, like an Italian saying? What is this? Kevin Jackson, general manager of John's of Bleecker Street, expressed similar feelings about Portnoy. When you talk about business practices, he was the guy raising millions of dollars for businesses during COVID, Jackson said, adding that he didn't know what the allegations of sexual misconduct against Portnoy. He's been good to pizzerias and restaurants in general. That's my take on it. Here's the thing. Using the term sexual misconduct, and like I said before, social media or really any news article will sensationalize to as much as they can, or maybe not all of them, but certainly most. And this one, certainly, they're doing their best. Again, this is him making a pizza festival, which is just cosplay for people who like pizza. So it's cosplay for Italians. And they decided to make this into, like, I would argue that this was a hit piece for sure. And notice that if they could, they would say that there was allegations of sexual assault, or they would use rape. But they say sexual misconduct, and that is apparently like that. Sometimes he'd be it was like, from what I remember, he would be aggressive with some of the girls, like in a like sexual sense, not like an intention to hurt them. It was more of a one night stand scenario, and they were younger, so I think that they weren't really prepared for it. And it was like, that's why you should only do intense things with somebody that you are comfortable with, and apparently potentially recording them without their consent, which is wrong. But we're not talking about like a forced violent like thing, you know what I mean? And so that's why they're saying sexual misconduct, You know what I mean? Like what Pee Wee Herman did. He was wanking his pecker at a porn theater, and it's like, what else are you gonna do there? Sit silently? Well, you should be silent, but I'm not a big fan of moaners. When I'm watching that kind of content and the guy starts to moan, I have to turn it off. It ruins the whole thing. I don't like it. He's been good to pizzerias and restaurants in general. That's my take on that. When Portnoy learned the Post was reporting on the festival, he called reporter Emily Heel and accused the news organization of orchestrating a hit piece. He complained about an email Heel sent to the girl, they sent to a sponsor, which apparently had been forwarded to Portnoy, asking for comment responding to the criticism some of the sponsors and participants have drawn by seeming to associate themselves with Dave Portnoy, who has a history of misogynistic comments and other problematic behavior. It seems like you're going to try to shame some sponsors for being associated with me and put them in a box, he said, when I know they all love me. Do they all love him? I mean, he probably makes some money, so probably. Portnoy agreed to do a full-fledged interview, but then when the Post asked to reschedule, he declined an alternate time and declined the offer to answer questions in writing. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. First of all, that makes sense. He wanted to schedule it at a certain time. They were trying to reschedule. I don't know why, but to do it, answer in writing, I feel like then you're open to. He wanted to push them on what they were saying, and they didn't want to. I think that's what happened. I could be wrong, but it sounded like he wanted to push them on what they were saying about him, and they didn't want to do it. So they were more like, oh well, if you just wrote it to us, like you can't yell at somebody in in text. You can send exclamation marks and capitalize it, but at the end of the day, there's a different effect of pushing somebody either in person or on a phone call. After I just got this guy's name before. Schneider's opinion piece, Portnoy cast it as an attack on those small businesses. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not worried about any places dropping because I have close relationships with almost all of them, and they love me, Portnoy wrote in the blog post. But imagine if I didn't. This guy is trying to create a war and headaches for those places and create a firestorm around them. Portnoy also said, what does Schneider expect to happen if pizza places drop out, he wrote. I'll just happily let them go on their way. What? What does he expect to happen if pizzas drops out? I'll just happily let them go their way. Is he saying he wouldn't let them go their way if they dropped out? What? That's just a weird thing for Dave to say. After his piece, Schneider was bombed with insulting tweets and direct messages. Portnoy himself wrote a blog post about how old Dave would have gone ballistic on this guy and wished horrible things upon him, and then proceeded to insult Schneider multiple times. He can't stop thinking about how successful I am. What a failure he is, Portnoy wrote. Bullying is never right, but I imagine that there's a pretty good feeling when people bully the people that you disagree with them. But that's not good. In an interview, Schneider said, it's about a pattern of bullying behavior that many journalists and critics have faced before and will face again. It's also about local pizzerias who may not know Portnoy's history, only his successful pizza review videos, and link themselves to such a person without knowing the whole story. Portnoy has been hyping the festival online, where he called it the greatest day in the history of pizza. Wow. And in media interviews, making clear that the participating businesses, some of which have scored in the rare field strata of 9 and above in Portnoy's rating system, have his I've never heard of this word. Imprimatur. Stop using big words. Who do you think's reading this? A fucking English major?
Imprimatur.
Imprimatur. It's like an official license by the Roman Catholic Church to print an what? A book?
Ecclesiastical.
Ecclesiastical book? What the fuck? What, dude? What? Who's the asshole who wrote this? What a wild thing to say. I don't even care. Is this his holy Bible of pizza? What the fuck? The hand-picked vendors would be offering my favorite pizzas I've ever done, he said in an interview with the NY1 cable channel. Some say Portnoy's ability to help pizzerias bottom line makes it hard for them to refuse his request to participate in an event like One Bite. Centillo, whatever, for example, said he is closing his shop on Saturday to participate in the event, which might not even be a moneymaker for the pizzerias, as DeMarco Miles told the Post. But DeMarco Miles said that there are other benefits to participating, such as access to a younger crowd. Predator. Just kidding. Joke. We have to keep the same old school charm and old ways of doing things, but the only way to stay in business to get your story out there is through social media nowadays, DeMarco Miles said. I hope I'm saying the name right. What's more, Santillo said, no one forced him to participate. I'm independent, he said. I'm doing it out of my own free will. It's like this. I don't need the money and I don't need the publicity, but he helped me and he's asking for my help, so I'm going to do everything I can. Okay, I guess Portnoy is putting together this event. Yeah, big words in the Washington Post must be first. Bro, listen, my whole entire point is that if you're trying to communicate to the everyman, why are you using big fucking annoying words? And you can sit here and criticize me all you want, but that is literally people, and sometimes will use large words to try to confuse people that they're talking to. In general, just to like, oh, this guy used a big word, he must be smart. It's annoying. I think that it's wildly and morbidly unintelligent to not use language that communicates with people when you're talking to them. If you're somebody with an advanced vocabulary and you're talking to somebody that's, somebody who doesn't, and you're intentionally using that vocabulary, it's just you trying to jerk yourself off, be like, oh, I'm smart. Speak to somebody in the way that they can actually interpret the information. I think it's more intelligent to actually speak to somebody with a purpose for them to understand, rather than for the purpose for you to try to humiliate and shame them. Even though Portnoy has considerable influence on the fortunes of these small businesses, at least one pizza expert thinks the multimedia mogul is aiming for respectability in more mainstream circles. Even though he thumbs his nose at legitimacy, he actually craves it, said Ed Levine, the founder of Serious Eats and author of Pizza, A Slice of Heaven. He's trying to gain legitimacy through associating with a lot of old school pizzerias. Okay. Those who have attempted to criticize the festival or question why anyone would want to be involved with it have found themselves in the crosshairs of Portnoy and his army of followers. It's called Stoolies. After Lopez's alt-critical Instagram story, Portnoy bit back during One Bite Review. Yeah, there's probably a level of truth to, like, if somebody criticizes Portnoy and he responds to the criticism, his audience is going to be toxic. And, like, yeah, sure, you could argue he should rein his audience in some capacity. But at the end of the day, you guys are writing scathing reviews about him. I mean, this is kind of what is going to happen. Thank you so much to welcome. Thank you so much for the...
TJ Rockefeller became a member.
Thank you so much for the small guy, brother. I appreciate that. If you see Kenji Alt walking down the street, give him the bird, Portnoy said in reference to Lopez Alt in his video review for Funzies Pizzeria, where the owner, Kevin Cox, appears to be uncomfortable by the rant. Okay. Asked for a response, Lopez said via text, I felt sorry for Kevin, who thought he was just having a nice conversation and then had to deal with this tirade. Dave's opinions of me means as much to me as his opinions on pizza. Well, that's fair. Okay. Most of the event sponsors a group of 16 brands that are described on the festival's website as partners, providing samples and merchandise, did not return calls or emails seeking comment. But for some, the opportunity to work with the participating pizzerias, not Portnoy, was the draw. I don't care. This is so wordy. Holy fuck. Oh, it's almost over. I'm complaining in the list. Mara Fornia. A Maryland-based maker of pizza ovens is bringing 8 whole ovens. Oh, they're bringing whole-ass ovens to this event? That's kind of cool. I stand corrected. And 7 wood-burning models. Do you think some of those pizzas are going to taste worse because the ovens are actually clean? You know what I mean? You spice your oven up with a little bit of something, a little schmutz. Jill Connor, the company's marketing manager, says the company knew about Portnoy's reputation when it signed on, but saw the festival as an opportunity to showcase its products to the pizza industry. Our job is to support the industry and the people who build and grow it. She said, that's what we're excited about. Larry Nicholson, owner of the MPM Food Equipment Group, had a similar take. He's providing 15 electric ovens and says that the reason to participate came down to the one word, sales. I mean, based. At least he's honest about it. We have no relationship with Portnoy, Nicholson said. We're trying to capture the business of the pizzerias that will be there. That's our whole idea behind the festival, not anything to do with One Bite and Portnoy. He says he personally isn't a fan of Portnoy's bad reviews. I don't like that he goes into a place and he can tank it if he gives it a bad review. He said, but I'm just trying to do what we're trying to do, which is to sell pizza ovens. Yeah, I don't know if the negative reviews necessarily have a negative impact on the pizzeria. I don't think that they've ever communicated that. I feel like even a bad review is not going to destroy it. People who like going there already are still going to go there, and other people will probably go there to try it out. Okay, that is that. Let's see this Dave Portnoy thing.
This is Emily.
Hey, Emily, this is Dave Portnoy calling. I'm recording you right now, but I've noticed a bunch of people. It seems like you're sending. We have this pizza fest happening on Saturday, and you're reaching out to our advertisers, and you're basically sending an email that says, to the effect, Dave's a misogynist, racist. Do you want to defend yourselves advertising at this event, right?
I'm sorry. What's your name, Dave? I'm sorry. Who are you?
I'm the guy you're
I'm sorry. Who is this? Dave Portnoy?
writing the article about, Dave Portnoy.
Oh, you're Dave Portnoy. Oh, hey, how are you?
Good.
Good. No, I'm not. I haven't said anything like that.
It's interesting because what happened, because I read through the whole article, is they were sending it to businesses because they wanted those businesses to, it seemed like, drop out and advertisers. one of them I think forwarded it to Dave and was like, "What the hell is this? Like, what are you? Are you a bad guy?" And Dave's like, "Of course I am." No. So yeah, no shit.
Well, I can read if you want. If you want, I can read what you actually sent. I have it.
Yeah, read, because I sent a bunch of notes, so I want to make sure I know which one.
Okay. We are planning to write about the festival.
We just want to know which hit piece you're referring to, Dave.
And how some of the sponsors and participants have drawn criticism by seemingly to associate themselves with Dave Portnoy, who has a history of misogynist comments and other problematic behavior.
Oh, is that misogynistic? What is misogynic? I don't care.
I want to make sure that Blank had a chance to respond to this, since
I mean, I care about misogyny. Okay, whatever.
Company is the most prominent and they're partners of his festival.
Oh, that's the one I sent to, which was definitely the most pointed of them, because I really did want them to respond, and I was hoping to get something from them.
Do you think that's fair? Like, I totally and how some.
I haven't said any. Yeah, read, because I sent a bunch of notes, so I want to make sure I know which one.
Okay. We are planning to write about the festival and how some of the sponsors and participants have drawn criticism by seemingly to associate themselves with Dave Portnoy, who has a history of misogynist comments and other problematic behavior. I want to make sure that Blank had a chance to respond to this, since the company is the most prominent and they're partners of his festival.
Oh, that's
Yeah, it seems like it's just bait to try to be like, you shouldn't associate with this guy. Okay.
the one I sent to,
I thought it was going to be worse.
which was definitely the most pointed of them, because I really did want them to respond, and I was hoping.
That doesn't feel like good journalism. Yeah, that one was like the worst. I was being a real dickhead in that one because I wanted them to talk to me. That just seems like wrong. I sensationalized that one to piss that person off, or I was pointed in it, right?
Hoping to get something from them.
Do you think that's fair? Like, I totally disagree with the assertions of what you said, that misogynic and all that stuff. So, like, it kind of backs people into a corner. So
I mean, I feel like he's made some comments, but I don't know. Like, he does a more of a comedy type of a style thing, no? That's kind of part of the thing. It's not like we're talking about a news anchor saying the same things. That's a totally, different people are going to be held to different standards, right? If you're somebody that's reporting on the news or you're a politician, you're held to a higher standard than somebody who eats pizza and does comedy,
I'm happy to go over anything. I mean, that is pretty pointed. You said you didn't do it. Then I have the exact evidence of you doing it. So
I didn't say I didn't do that. I said I did. That was the one that was the most pointed.
Well, no, that went before I provided proof. You said you didn't really remember doing that, and then I read it to you, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I did it that one time." So you did do it. I'm happy to talk about the comments, because to me, it's kind of like torturous interference. Like, we're doing an event. Everyone's happy about the event. I've raised $50 million for small business. I've helped pizza. None of that. It's
he's never going to let that one go. I raised $50 million for small business.
Dave's misogynist and problematic, and I'm happy to talk about it, because to me, nobody would like if someone's going around sending that email to their sponsors. And again, you're not like questioning. You're it's almost like a statement of fact. This is what I am.
Yeah. So I do want to talk to you about.
Who's got another call?
And I just want you to know that the story I'm working on with a colleague.
Yeah, I feel like he's heard the word misogynistic before. How is he getting it wrong? It's weird.
And I want to kind of loop him on this, because we did want to talk to you. And
when were you going to reach out?
We were planning on doing it tomorrow morning, but
So you're going to write the article and then give me, like, I've had that a bunch. People write a full article and then give me the points after.
We're doing a bunch of reporting, and we
Probably. They probably were going to have it written and then do a report afterward and just report. Maybe they'll add the what he said in the report, but they're not going to use it as context. And that is a big deal. Like, hey, we're going to get you at the and we don't know if it's 100% sure. This might be a bit speculative, but it's like, hey, we're going to get you after we wrote the article already, and we're going to put what you said in there, but we're not going to wait, because you'd think you'd want to at least talk to him before or while you were forming the article or beforehand, so you could add notes into some of his comments on this specific thing. So I don't know.
I wanted to make sure that when we finally did talk to you, we could really.
But it seems like they already had the narrative they wanted to run with, set.
Kind of present what, or talk about things more fully based on.
Like what? Like, it sounds like you have your opinion made of me based on that email.
No.
So then if you don't have your opinion made of me, how do you say in an intro email, Dave Portnoy has a history of misogynist comments and other problematic behavior? That's how you introduce the email.
Yeah. So look, I just want you to know that this is not, I want to talk to you about this, but
don't you think you should talk to me before sending that email?
What I wanted to do is I wanted to talk to you when we were going to have some specific questions for you. And so I wanted to kind of have the full idea of what we were.
That's not a full idea. Like anybody who's rationally reading that email being sent to an advertiser would have to be.
I wonder if they're used to being talked to like this, like getting pushback in a way that's like somewhat aggressive, not like negatively aggressive. He's not screaming or yelling. I'm not even saying it's bad, but like somebody who's speaking to them in a stern way and not letting them kind of weasel out of it. Because I feel like in some of these political spheres, or excuse me, newspaper article spheres, is like a very weaselly thing, you know?
Be like, this is a hit piece and you have your mind made up. Why else would you put? No, you call me in the intro. I'll say it again. Dave Portnoy has a history of misogynist comments and other problematic behavior. You didn't say Dave Portnoy raised $50 million for small business. Dave Portnoy saved thousands.
Why don't you just give it back? Like, yeah, I think you do. Like I would have. If she just owned what she said, yeah, she's like, I said that. I think that you do have a history of misogynistic, whatever. Just say that. Just own what you're gonna say. If you're gonna say it, just own it. Don't be a pussy.
The pizza places, you didn't mention. You said it in a way that is putting sponsors on the defensive.
So what I worried about when we contacted you, I was worried that we would have one shot to talk to you, right? And so what I wanted to do is make.
Well, now you have your shot. Talk to him now, on the fly, baby.
Everything that we wanted to talk to you about before I reached out to you. That's why I was waiting to call you.
Because you wanted to have everything together before you talk to me.
I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense, but
I got to be honest. This sounds like something who's going to hit me the last second, be like comments and all this negative stuff.
No, this is kind of standard journalistic stuff. Like,
unfortunately, yes.
Talk about stuff.
I have been an open book and willing to sit down with anybody at any time. And this all stems, by the way, from a guy who wrote an article that for 13 years has been tweeting negatively about me because he doesn't like me. So half the stuff he talks about didn't even exist. The guy doesn't like me.
I don't think misogynic is a word, bro. It's when I look up misogynic, it says misogyny. So I don't think he's saying a real word, but I don't care. So
and now you're going to run with this on the Washington Post. And anybody who's listening to this to think you were going to give me a fair chance when you're leading to our sponsors before you talk to me is crazy.
That's a good point too. They're already reaching out to sponsors before even. Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. Can we set up a time to talk tomorrow? Would that be okay? Like, I want to talk to you. I really do. I just want to make sure, like, I've got all my questions ready and stuff to talk to you about. Would that be okay? Can we set up a time?
I want to see the article before you do it.
No, it's not really. We can't do that. And
why
also,
can't
like,
you do?
Why can't they do that? Why can't they just show them the article?
You do that because all I do is I validate all the stuff you're about to make up against me. I have been hit with the same things over and over, and they're all so wildly out of context. It's insane to say.
I wonder if one of the reasons why she doesn't want to have the call on right now is because Dave said she was recording, and they probably don't want that because then information gets released in a way that they don't have control of. I could be wrong. I could be over speculating, but I wouldn't doubt that.
At this point in the game, you've already written to the sponsors. Let me say it again. Dave Portnoy has a history of misogynic comments and other problematic behavior. I catch you off guard on a phone call, and now you're like, no, we planned on talking to you tomorrow. Like the Washington Post, which is a wildly left-leaning publication, you have things you've said. You hate Trump. You hate Elon. Not that I'm those people. To think you're going to give me a fair shake. I wasn't born yesterday.
It's interesting. I don't really put Dave Portnoy in the Trump or Elon Musk category. Because I've seen some of his stuff. I saw some of his stuff where he was like, he has I think a podcast that centralizes around kind of like silly TikTok gossip stuff. And I watched a couple of those for content for myself. And I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Like Dave seems like a decent guy. So.
Today.
I wanted to talk to you, and as part of my reporting, like, we haven't written this story. We won't have written it by the time we talk to you. Like, this is talking to you, I would hope, is going to be a big part of our reporting and a big part of the story. So I'm really hoping I do that, but I want to give you a chance. If we're going to, anything specific we're going to include in the story, but I just don't have it all in front of me because I'm working with another reporter, and I want to make sure that we have as full a conversation as we can.
What was the thesis of this article you're writing?
I don't work with theses. I'm just reporting. It's just, you're an interesting guy. You have an interesting role in this industry.
I was trying to see when they when did they get this out of here, bro? When did they release when did they talk to this guy in relation to okay, I guess I can't look at it anymore. When did they release this article? September 22nd. So they released this. So when did Dave Portnoy talk to this person? I wonder.
That's all.
It seemed like you were going to try to shame sponsors for being associated with me and put them in a box when I know they all love me, but nobody wants the Washington Post writing an article, sponsor associated with misogenic, racist piece of shit. Nobody wants that. That's what you're trying to do. And even on this call, it's pretty clear that's what you were trying to do. You don't have the facts for me.
What I might have said on this call that would give you that impression. All I've said on this call.
Well, we started the call. We started the call with you saying.
I think that email. What do they call it? A poison to the well for anything else. You
never said anything negative, and then I read back an email like, "Oh, I did on that one."
I said that I sent a number of emails. And that one was the most pointed because I was really trying to press them to respond.
Well, I don't understand that. Like, that's because only one of them was pointed. All the other ones were fine. Like, all the ones were really nice. What? I just kind of doubt that. I feel like it was probably all very similar. I just doubt that.
But I really, and what I've
Duunk_H became a member.
Hey, thank you so much for the membership, brother.
I've been asking people about. I'm just asking people what they're doing. I'm just asking people about, how they came to participate and how they view it. That's
but you could have just as easily said, what's your involvement? Are you proud to be involved with somebody who has done so much for the pizza and service industry, right? That could have been.
How are you proud to be working with somebody who's raised $50 million for pizza? Somebody said in the chat that that's the same as me bringing up how I used to be on TikTok.
Email.
Can we set up a time tomorrow to talk? I mean, really, I want to get into all of it.
Well, I don't know if I trust you yet, so I'd want more. I want to see everything that you've been asking these people. Like, again, I don't think there's generally why I don't do this at the last minute is because if you really wanted to get my perspective, it wouldn't be me calling you. You would have already reached out to me in a fair manner. Hey, sorry about that. I got like a call that came in the middle of it.
Oh, no worries. Okay. No, I was just saying.
I can't believe that she picked back up.
I was going to call you. I really wanted to talk with you. I want to have a really full conversation. That's why. So what time?
I'm more than willing to have an open conversation about anything if the article is not written. I'm afraid with what I'm seeing already here, all it does is it validates a hit piece.
I swear, I have not written the story. Believe me.
Have you made your mind up about me?
We're in the reporting phase. I can't. Not for me to say, and I'm working with somebody else.
But that seems like a pretty straightforward question. That have you made your mind up about me? If you can't answer that, no.
I can say I have not made my mind up about you.
Then why would you include that in the email to sponsors?
Because I was hoping for a dialogue with them. Sometimes you have to say something like, this is like, it's sort of a reporting tactic. When you want someone to respond, you kind of have to indicate that there might be something negative, and then you get them to engage.
Okay.
That's all I was trying to do. I really wanted them to engage with me.
That is a sad state of journalism. If that's a tactic that you have to, what I would say is,
yeah. I mean, if you have to, I don't know what it sounds like she's saying is she's like, yeah, I have to lie to people almost. I mean, or sensationalize the truth just to get people to respond. I don't know. It just seems shitty.
Make up something about somebody.
That there might be something negative, and so you want to give people a chance to respond.
Well, that's my thing is if her take is like, I think that is an accurate portrayal of you when I sent that out, just say it. Like, the problem is she's trying to walk it back. She's like, oh, well, we just try to be a little bit sassy when we reach out to people. Just say, no, I think you're an asshole. Just do that. I would respect her for that.
And have a conversation with you. That's what I was trying to do.
But at the same time, you're saying you don't know that that's actually truth. So you're leading with something that you haven't done enough research to know if it's valid.
I'm saying there might be a fuller picture, and that's what I want to talk to you about. And I want to set up a time tomorrow morning, maybe like 10. Are you free at 10?
I got to do more research on you. I still don't have the vibe that you're going to give me any sort of fair shake.
Okay. Well, that's
So
fair. I can tell you.
So how about we raise the stakes and you give me a real shake? A Sonic Blast with Reese's Peanut Butter Cup and vanilla ice cream, to be specific.
The name, if you wanna look into me, my colleague that I'm working with on the story, his name is Tim Carmen. He's also a food reporter at the Post.
Tim Dingle.
And I'd love for both of us to be on the call and just, we can talk. I am happy to, I definitely want some on the record stuff, but if there's stuff you want to tell me, on background or off the record, we can talk about all.
No, I'm always on the record. There's nothing I would ever say that is off the record.
I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so maybe you want to say tentatively 10 o'clock tomorrow?
Yes, I'll confirm tentatively. Now, the one thing I'd always ask, just like this is being recorded, I would record the interview tomorrow.
I didn't have a chance to hit record, so I'm not recording this call, but I get that you are. That's totally fine. I always anticipate that, what I'm saying is going to be recorded or be used. I get that.
Okay.
He said in the beginning.
So that is a good step in establishing some degree of trust. So if you're fine with me recording tomorrow, then let's do 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Okay. Do you want to call me on this number?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. Okay, great.
All right.
All right. We'll talk tomorrow at 10.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thanks, babe.
Bye.
All right, that's that. Yeah, I don't really have a lot to say. I'm not really surprised. My biggest issue is, like, if the media wants to run with this narrative, stop being a pussy about it. Just tell Dave he's an asshole. You know what I mean? Like, I think you're an asshole. We think this is true. I tend to look at it more as bringing up his past that he's already, talked about, as in a way to try to deplatform him or to, hurt him in some way or hurt the event in some way. But at least stick to your guns. And that's, I think, my biggest criticism.